So, like I was saying earlier, so we we've been doing a question and answer all week long. We've been having some good guests on. We had on Monday we had Chris Foca, state champion on Tuesday night we had Frankie Edgar on our interview, and last night we had Erin Blanchfield, UFC prospect. She's a superstar athlete, and we had a great time talking all week. So we're tonight we have another special guest. We have Izabella Frezzo joining us very shortly. She is also another superstar athlete, a grappler, and wrestler as well. So we're gonna talk to her today. We're gonna wait for her to come on, and then we'll get her started. Hope you guys are all enjoying your quarantine life. Oh, there we go. We got her on me now. What's going on?
Hi.
We got we're jamming out a little bit to your music right now. You can hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Awesome. So what we're gonna do a little different now. I was just introducing you what we're gonna do now. Since we only have an hour, we're gonna maybe talk for about a half hour with you, and then halfway through it, we'll be able to answer some questions. I know some people were asking questions yesterday. We were early, and by the time we got to them, they were probably off and everything. So we're gonna do like half and half now. How you feeling right now? I know we just had a Zoom practice with each other.
The Zoom was really good.
Yes.
That was the first like official freestyle practice.
Yes.
So it was pretty cool to do some of that like freestyle stuff.
Yeah, we're taking our quarantine very, very serious. I know there's some people out there that are training with their brothers or sisters and kind of close professors and really not. We can't go back into our whole routine where we're going all over and training and being around a lot of people. So I'm glad that you're staying safe, and we're doing the Zoom classes, and the kids are loving it, and our high school youth kids they're all enjoying it. So hopefully you keep coming on. I know you'd be a superstar freestyle wrestler, so we're looking for big things for you. So welcome today, guys, Izabella Frezzo. So, all right. So, I mean, let's begin now. Let's talk on that real quick. Let's talk about, you being in. I asked a couple of people about being in quarantine and stuff like that. I know it changes up your whole schedule. So, how's it been? What have you been doing?
It's been pretty rough actually, since like my whole routine is like I wake up, I go to school, then I come home or I'll wrestle, and then I have jiu-jitsu. So like now it's I wake up, I do school for like 2-3 hours, and then I try to get some sort of like workout in because there's not much I can do. So I've been mostly running a lot of like home like cardio, stuff like that, like pull-ups, push-ups, like stuff I can do on my own where I don't really need a partner. Like I said, today I did the Zoom. So if I find the opportunity where I can hop on a Zoom and do a couple things on there, then I find it really beneficial.
That's great. I mean, I know the jiu-jitsu school that you go to, Notorious, they're also doing Zoom classes as well.
Right.
And I know you've been helping out and teaching little kid class and stuff like that. So, I mean, if this is the best that we can do, I mean, at least it's something. And at least, you're getting a workout in. I'm getting workouts in. The kids are getting workouts in. But sooner or later, we'll all be back to our original routines. And I know we have a lot of big goals. Everybody has goals. We talked to Frankie Edgar the other night, and we talked to Erin Blanchfield last night. These are people that were wanted to fight in May and June. So at a professional level. So they're trying to, they're in their basements. They're wrestling poles. They're wrestling their wives. Wrestling their brothers or sisters. I mean, they're doing whatever it takes to get workouts in. So I think it's a good time that, we're also with our families and stuff like that. And, everyone seems to get closer. So, it's kind of a blessing, from the skies, I guess, So I know you got, you do jiu-jitsu and you do wrestling. Why don't we talk a little bit about jiu-jitsu first, and we'll move on to a little bit of wrestling. So started jiu-jitsu at 7, right?
7 years old, yeah.
7 years old. And how did you come about starting? Like, were you someone just brought you to the room, your parents, or you just?
I had started boxing with my dad when I was really small. Like we were just like I was hitting some pads and stuff like that, and then I had gone to like another like little karate dojo that was near my gym. And then my chiropractor had actually his son was training, and he was like, "No, like I think that would be great for her. Like she's super active." And I was like, my parents, they were just like, "Yeah, we'll put her in it. Like she is pretty active, really aggressive, so it'll work out." So I tried it. I ended up loving it. And then 2 years later, I had moved over to Notorious. Well, it wasn't Notorious at the time, but it had changed into Notorious. So it was really a long journey getting into jiu-jitsu. Like not like super long, but I had done stuff before that, but I was always like in some sort of martial arts my whole life.
So you never played any other sport?
I did softball for a little bit.
Where did you
About
do
a
that when you
year.
were younger, or?
Yeah, I was in second grade. It came to I was doing softball for like a year or two, and then jiu-jitsu became like, my passion obviously. And in my head I was like, no, I have to choose between wrestling. I mean not wrestling, jiu-jitsu or softball. I was like, it's got to be one or the other. Like I want to commit to it fully. So I decided that I was going to fully commit to jiu-jitsu, and here I am. Like 9 years later almost.
That's awesome. I mean, so there are people that do jujitsu and just simply do jujitsu just to stay in shape and do something different. You got older people starting at 40 and going in, and they just want to do something different to stay active and stuff like that. So you start at 7 years old, and I'm guessing you might have just worked out for a couple months, and then or maybe not. But when did you decide that you wanted to do it competitively?
It actually wasn't long after I had started. It was maybe like somewhere between 9 months and a year that I decided like I'm gonna start competing. But I wasn't, honestly, I wasn't doing too well in the tournaments until I had switched over to training with Fiona. And right at that like 2 year mark was like, I want to do this. So I had started with Fiona, and the kids were getting ready for the biggest kids tournament, which was Kids Pans. And I was only training with her for like a month, and my parents were like, you're not ready for that. But if you really, really want to go, you're gonna have to step up and train, and we'll go next year. And ever since that, I saw that those kids went to California to compete, and that was one of the coolest things for me. As like a 9 year old, that was really cool for me to see. So I had started training really hard for that. The whole year I prepared. And then the following year, I had gone to my first Kids Pans at 10 years old.
So wait, did you compete in any local tournaments first? Or?
Oh, yeah. There was local stuff. Like I had probably done close to like 15 tournaments within the year, just like, and I was killing it. I had gray belt for a couple months, and after I switched to gyms, I had Fiona had promoted me to yellow belt, and then I started getting really super, competitive matches in the tournaments, and I was like getting ready for the biggest tournament,
Yeah.
the biggest
So
one.
how old were you when you went to Pens?
10.
10 years old, all right? You fly across the whole United States, you're with your family, and you go to, how did you end up doing your first time out there?
The first time I actually won the whole thing, and ever since that year, I won 5 consecutive Kids Pans titles, and it was something different, obviously for me, because I had competed in other states, but this was an event that was it honestly, it does remind me of the New Jersey states. It like the way that it's set up. So.
Yep.
But as a 10-year-old, I had never seen something like that before, and I was like, oh my God, like it was something crazy.
Of course. And the thing is, like, like wrestling and jiu-jitsu, same thing. I mean, to travel, to compete, to do all that, it's not cheap. It really is, so you got to have support from your family.
Right.
You going to your first tournament at 10 years old to go across the United States and spend money on your flights and all that. Your coaches and your family had to have some confidence in you that you're going to go out there and you're going to do something, because you are traveling far away. I mean, it isn't cheap. I mean, so tell me about like the support of your family.
My parents have been really supportive of everything I've done, even since I was really little. I know a lot of females have approached me and asked me, like, how do you get your parents to be supportive of what you do? And I'm like, honestly, they've been supportive since day one, so I've never really had that issue. But my parents see it in me that I'm really determined to, like, when I want something, I will go after it and I will put all my heart and every single ounce of effort that I have into it, because I'm not going to do something and like not give 100%. It's not worth it to me. So I mean, yeah, if you're seeing a 10-year-old, you know, you're kind of like, how much do they really want this? But when I tell you I was training like freaking beast, it was crazy.
Well, we had Erin Blanchfield on yesterday, and she had a very similar story talking about, you know, when people watch her train, and when I watch her train, I can see that fire in her eyes, that she wants it, and that she really, you know, wants to achieve the most she can in the sport. I see the same similarities in you, and you know, I know how passionate you are about jiu-jitsu, and how much you love it, and you know, you going out and you're winning, like I said, 5 Kid Pan Am titles, and then you ended up winning a no-gi juvenile, I guess the next division.
And then the no-gi,
Yeah.
well, first there was no-gi pans,
Yes.
and then there was no-gi worlds like 2 or 3 months after that.
Well, that just happened recently, right?
Yeah, that was in December.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So I guess I can start with how I was out for like a season, like, because
Don't get into that. I want to get
into okay. So yeah, so I had I went to the Nogi Pans, which was in New York. So it was kind of it was a little bit of a smaller event. Most of the bigger events are on the West Coast, unfortunately, but it was fine. It was just I had my match in New York, and I ended up becoming the Nogi Pan champ, and then it was like 2 or 3 months later, right before the wrestling season start. Well, no, actually the wrestling season did start, and then I was in between jiu-jitsu training and wrestling training, and I had gone and just went to California, competed, came back, and then it was wrestling season, like full-blown wrestling season.
Awesome. Guys, whoever's online right now, again, halfway through this interview, we're gonna, you know, get some questions, go back to interview, and then some questions at the end. If we run out of time and Bella wants to talk a little bit more, we can. So if you want to just kind of save a little bit of the questions for her, maybe halfway through it, I'll let you guys know. I know some people are saying hi to you and stuff like that, so you can say hi to them. I think I'm gonna mess this one up and say you competed on stage at the Kasai Pro?
Yeah, Kasai, yeah.
Kasai Pro, okay. Was that the one I went to? Was I at that one, or was that the one?
No, that was a Men of War tour. That was a
okay. Okay, so what's the significance of that one, Kasai Pro?
Okay, so Kasai is like a super fight, and it's in front of like a whole bunch of people. It was in New York in the Hammerstein Ballroom, and it wasn't the first super fight I did, but it was the first really big event that I had done that was individual, like in front of everyone. So that was really exciting. It was something different for me because, like I said, I am always competing at you know, like the worlds and pans and all that stuff. So it was definitely a big step in the right direction, and it was cool. You get to walk out in front of everyone, and you get to be on stage, and it's just you and your opponent fighting, and that's it. So
it looks very similar, the setup and how everything goes, how MMA fighters come out.
Right.
Octagon, you guys, you know, have your sponsors on. You walk out with your coaches. You go on stage and you have your own music and stuff like that. I think it's really cool the way they set that up. And I know a lot of these tournaments are for money. You know, some are just for belts, but I know people can make a living, you know, out of that. Yeah. The best guys in the world that can make a living, you know, going to tournament, doing seminars and all that stuff like that. Is that something like down the line what you think you want to do?
I don't know if I could really live off of jiu-jitsu in that way. Yeah. It is definitely hard because you have to compete every weekend pretty much if you want to be able to live like that. And because it's not like the UFC where you're getting paid like $100,000 to do one fight. It's not like that.
That's very small amount of people get that money.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So that's like in the UFC, but in jiu-jitsu it's not really like that. If you
it's a couple grand. Right?
It's yeah. So like you living off of that. I mean, you could do it, but
And I mean, a lot of the guys live off sponsors,
right.
and their travels and everything is taken care of. They're given meals and supplements and stuff like that. You know, I follow a lot of the top tier guys and stuff like that. So why don't we just change into different sports? We can go back to jiu-jitsu because there's a couple more questions I still got to ask about that. So let's go into your wrestling career right now. I mean, you started in 8th or 7th grade?
8th grade.
8th grade? Okay. And what was like, I mean, who got you into it? I mean, like, who was like, go out for wrestling? I mean,
So I had gone to my school's high school orientation, and I guess it had happened right before the wrestling season started. So it must have been like somewhere between October and November. And I had walked into the gym and I saw that my school had a weight room. And of course, I was being super interested in my school having a weight room. That they didn't have that at my middle school. So
yeah.
I was like, oh, I have to go. So I had run across the gym, and my mom was behind me, and he's the gym teacher and he's the wrestling coach. So he was like, is that your daughter? And she was like, yeah. He was like, does she do some sort of like martial arts or something? And she was like, yeah, she does. And he was like, you know, she should wrestle. And then I was like, I mean, it's not a bad idea. I was always thinking I would wrestle, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that to get better at jiu-jitsu. So that's how I ended up starting wrestling.
I mean, there's people now, like I train, you know, MMA fighters, and they're in their 20s already. And one thing that they always say was they wish they started wrestling when they were younger. And, you know, because it obviously helps their jiu-jitsu. You're in 8th grade right now. I mean, and they ask you to come out for wrestling. Did right then and there, did you think like, man, this could be great for my jiu-jitsu? Or were you just like, you know what? I want to do something else. I like to do it because it's another form of grappling. Like, you know, what were your thoughts on that?
Initially, I don't know if I actually thought that I was going to get as far as I did. I was sort of looking at it more like, because at the time I didn't really have a good stand-up game. So for me, I was looking to improve my takedowns a lot. And, you know, if you do takedowns every single day, you're going to get better. So eventually I did get better, and my season didn't go awful. It was okay for first year wrestler. I did pretty good. But it honestly, it really does help my jiu-jitsu, and that's mainly how I was looking at it at the time.
Was that Coach Senebrino you were talking about?
Yeah.
All right, good guy, great, Mike Senebrino,
Yeah.
great guy. So you wrestled how many times did you wrestle did you wrestle once or twice in the youth states? I think they might have let you wrestle your freshman year too, right?
Yeah, so it ended up girls states wasn't really a thing until my sophomore year. So my freshman year, it was still I think it's called like NJ kids or
Kids States,
girls,
yeah.
something like that. But
Did
it was
you wrestle in 8th grade
girls.
Kid States?
No, just the girls one. But it was in Union at a boys qualifier.
Yeah. I
For the
remember.
states. Yeah.
You won, correct?
Yeah.
You won. Okay. So you win a so-called youth state title.
Yeah.
You know, kids in JSI states they haven't been going. Right then and there, did you think like, okay, you know, there was really no girls yet. I mean, like really no girls state tournament. Did you think like automatically like, hey, I may be pretty successful in wrestling, but did you think that or?
I think as the season had progressed, and by the time we got to the end of the season and I saw like what I was actually capable of, it kind of it motivated me to like get better for the next season and you know, just improve. And obviously high school wrestling is much different than 8th grade wrestling, and at the time I didn't really know that it would be so different, but it honestly, it's a big step going from 8th grade to like high school. But it was something good for me, and it definitely motivated me for the next season that came up.
Yeah. So I know we've been working with each other for a couple of years with some wrestling. I think we met like maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was probably a while ago.
At a jiu-jitsu gym, and I've been literally trying to recruit you for wrestling for a long time. And it's just, you know, if the shoe was on the other foot and we had a wrestler a jiu-jitsu person was trying to convince them, I mean, jiu-jitsu is your first love. So I understood it and I embraced it and I enjoyed, I enjoyed watching you. I watched you compete and stuff like that. I know deep down inside of my heart, I wanted you to wrestle. And I know I was trying to push you to motivate you. And then, so, right, I knew you were going to be successful right away. I knew because you had a successful grappling background. Um, you know, right now in New Jersey wrestling, at that time, it was only, I mean, still to this day, you got to wrestle an all boys schedule. It's not like there's a girl on girl schedule during the year. So talk about that.
So my freshman year, it was only boys. I maybe wrestled a girl one time the whole season. And then, well, but besides making it when I went to the girls' states at the end of the year, but like the actual in season, there was only one other team that had a female on it. So that was, I mean, I didn't really expect there to be a lot of girls because I just knew from the prior year that it was only going to be, boys or whatever. And then, so yeah, that I honestly, and plus when I've done jiu-jitsu, it's only, I grappled with the boys since I was little. So it didn't really affect me too much.
So, so we'll go into, listen, in all sports and aspects of sports in this life, everybody's going to suffer a setback. Okay. And then it's how you come back from those setbacks that make real true champions, It was last year, I'm guessing around December. Was it December?
January 11th, 12th.
January 12th. You know the day.
I'll never forget the day.
You invite me to, you tell me, hey, coach, I got a tournament coming up in Belleville. And I'm like, all right, perfect, man. This is local. I don't got to travel far. I'll go watch her. And I get there ready to come watch you. And I run into somebody, I forget who it was, and they're like, she's not here. I go, what do you mean she's not here? She invited me to come here to the tournament. I'm here. I want to watch her. And they're like, she got hurt. And I said, no way. I'm like, is she like banged up? Did she, bloody nose? Was she mess up her finger? Whatever it was. And they're like, no, it's bad. It's like she got taken out in a stretcher. And I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it. And I'm not sure how I found out. I don't know if I texted maybe you or your mother might have answered me back or something like that. And you suffered probably your worst injury of your career, right?
Yeah, that was my first ever.
So explain kind of the moment, the incident, what exactly happened and what was the injury?
So it was only a couple seconds into the match. I had gotten taken down and I think we had run out of bounds. And so we had started in a referee's position. I was on bottom. The ref blew the whistle and I tripoded up. I tried to come up to my feet. And as soon as I tried to before I could even take my hands off the mat, the kid had chopped really hard. My whole elbow dislocated. And at that point, I didn't really know what to do. So I was kind of just laying there on the mat, face up. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now, but it's definitely not. So it wasn't a good situation. I had looked down at my arm and it was kind of the best way for me to describe how it was my arm was numb and I couldn't feel it at all. And it was like a dead arm. And I looked at it and it was hanging out of its socket. And I was like, I don't know what to do. But, so I had started, I was okay, but I looked at it and I was like, oh, I'm done for wrestling for this year. I'm out for World. I knew right there that I was going to be out for a while. And the athletic trainer from that team had run over and she popped my arm back in. And I looked at her and she's like, are you all right? And I was like, I mean, I guess, how all right can you really be? And she was like, you're going to be all right. So she popped it in. Then I got off the mat and I was looking at my arm and it was huge. It was so big. And we had gone to urgent care. It was just a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean, that was horrible. I know that I was talking to people when they were there and they were like, dude, I think her arm's, they were saying it's broken. They didn't know what was going on. It's like, dude, her arm snapped in half. I was hearing everything. And they were like, but she took it like a champ. She was she didn't cry. She, you definitely were just a little bit concerned, like what was going on. You know, you probably just have just so much adrenaline going through you, and you just, you know, like you said, you felt numb anyway, and so, you know, you definitely took it like, you know, like I said, like a champ. And you know, did you end up getting pins put in there, or it was?
I was laying on the floor and I was like tapping out on him.
No, I meant, did you get pins in the arm?
So no, I didn't. I don't think I did get. I don't think I did. They had actually just they were able to tie the tendons back together, and they had to just relocate my arm back into position a whole bunch of times. And it was the fracture had to heal and everything like that.
So, I mean, we'll finish off with this, and then we'll get a couple questions, and then we'll move on. I mean, so me as your wrestling coach, as your wrestling club coach, I've been trying so long to get you out for wrestling, and you know, I'm on a tight wire with you because I want to make sure that you love wrestling. I want to make sure that you're doing it, you're enjoying it. When you got injured like that, my heart dropped. Number one, because I felt bad for you. I was definitely felt bad. And then after I thought about that, number two, I was kind of like, this girl's never going to wrestle again. I go, she is not going to, because you know what? She got hurt for something that, you know, because her real love is jiu-jitsu. And now she's out in all these big tournaments. I go, there's no way this girl's coming back. And luckily, we can talk about that afterwards, your recovery. And then you came back, and you probably came back better than ever, mentally, physically, and everything like that. So we'll talk about that in the second half. We'll get a couple questions in, guys, if you want to ask a couple questions, and then we'll get that going. I know we got a lot of kids from club that are in here. A lot of people saying hello. Amira saying hello. You got Erica in here. I think you're one of the club coaches, Chris Lafari. Who else we got? I don't know if you see any questions on your end over there.
I'm scrolling through it right now. Let's see.
Okay. Someone said you rock. They like your attitude, your passion. Go Bella, all the best. That was a great competitor. She's always been that way. Then we got guys talking to each other on here. Barry, yeah, you got to come in. You got to grind. My brother's on here. Alessia, we have a girl on here that Alessia, who's one of our younger students. You know, she's very into. You know who she is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She, you know, she's one of the hardest workers that we got at the club. We talked about her yesterday. I can keep talking about her. She's a big fan of yours. She definitely looks up to you, and she, you know, wants to be, you know, everything same that you do. You know, you're an inspiration to her. My brother says she's a fighter with no quit. Of course, you know you are. Stephanie asked, how long did your injury take to heal?
So it probably took between 8 and 9 months, but I had started training after about a month and a half of being post-op, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I was getting the itch to go back. So I took initiative and I had a brace on and I was drilling jiu-jitsu techniques.
Yeah, and I was pissed off, and your coaches were pissed off.
My physical therapists were really mad too. Everyone was mad at me, but yeah, I wasn't cleared until about July or August, and I had gotten surgery in February. So,
all right, we're gonna try to go to some of these questions quick. Do you want to wrestle in college?
Maybe if something's close to my house, maybe. I don't want to go far because I have jiu-jitsu, and I love jiu-jitsu, and if wrestling is close to my house, then I'll wrestle.
All right. That's not a decision you're going to make just now. How did you know that you were ready to compete, and how did you train to compete?
I wanted to compete the whole time. I was very upset that. Wait, is she talking about with my injury or like I was younger?
How do you know when
Let's
you're ready?
see.
I'm guessing.
Oh, how do you know when you're ready to compete?
Yes.
I would say you're doing better in the classes. Like when you're training in the classes, you can feel you're executing the techniques like really well, and you feel confidence. If you don't have any confidence, it's going to be really hard to go out there in the tournament. So that's probably the best advice.
Nice. Alessia said that you did a TikTok with her.
We did do a TikTok.
Oh, all right. Yeah. I think I remember that when you guys did that.
It was all the girls.
So my brother, we'll talk about this later, actually. My brother says, tell the funny story about you weighing in Atlantic City. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that. And if anybody has any more questions, I mean, you can keep asking. We'll answer them right now. If not, we're just gonna move on to the rest of the interview. I mean, I got a ton of questions still to ask you. So Stephanie asked about your AC experience. Stephanie, I think we're gonna get into that. Like literally the next thing we're gonna get into. And then we'll talk a little bit more jiu-jitsu. But anybody else got any other questions that you want to ask her for now? Let me see what else I got for you over here. I mean, like right now, if you think about your wrestling career, like what do you know, would you go back and probably start earlier in your career wrestling?
Maybe I would have done more club training. I don't know if I would have started competing in wrestling before the 8th grade, but if I would have done more club training and just drilling more takedowns, I probably would have done that.
Oh, that's very good. Which is harder, wrestling or jiu-jitsu?
It depends. It does depend. If you start with jiu-jitsu, then wrestling is a little bit easier. Well, not really, because you can't go on your back. But if you start with wrestling and go to jiu-jitsu, I think that's a little bit easier. But there's more techniques than jiu-jitsu. There's you got to know more.
Yeah.
Wrestling is it's 3 positions in wrestling.
Yeah. My brother again. How long do you think before you could get a black belt?
A while probably. I gotta.
What color belt are you right now?
I'm a blue belt right now, and the deal that I have with my coach is that I have to win a world title at every single belt. So.
Wow. That's pretty good. That's setting the bar pretty high for yourself. Right
Yeah.
There. And they said that's good. That's always very good. Alessia asks if she wants to do jiu-jitsu. At what age does she start?
Now. She should start now.
I mean,
as soon as she can. There's no age.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, when you start wrestling, you start wrestling, you just get it going and stuff like that, and she'd be good. She'd be good at jiu-jitsu. Her dad's, into jiu-jitsu, into fighting and stuff like that. So it kind of all translate together. What was your record this year for wrestling?
I actually just saw it this morning because my coach had sent over the BC. There was a dinner for Bergen County girls. So I was 23-9, and I was 11-2 in the girls. Yeah,
I was gonna say because you have 2 different records between the girls and boys.
But the 23-9 is combined.
Combined. Yeah. I mean, when we talk about, actually, hold on. We'll get one more. What are your top BJJ techniques?
I like guard, and I like submissions from the guard and some sweeps. I like De La Riva a lot.
Yeah, for some people who, may not know what that is.
Yeah.
It's a position. Yeah. What's your nationality?
I'm a lot of different things, but mostly Italian.
Nice. So you've been eating a lot of Italian food since you've been home in quarantine?
Yeah.
Don't gain too much weight. We got to get you back on the map.
I know.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on, guys. And then we'll ask some more questions at the end. I want to get into your sophomore year. Okay. No, your junior year. This year. Your junior year. Yeah. So this year, your junior year, you get back into wrestling. Like I said, I thought it was gonna be hard to get you back in, and you came back. You kind of were on a mission. You were upset that last year your season was cut short. You thought you were going to have an extent of an injury that's going to prevent you from doing what you wanted in jiu-jitsu as well. So it was kind of like you were, kind of wrestling with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, I know you got some new coaches into your program this year. Your professor at your jiu-jitsu school was one of your assistant coaches this year, which was good because you guys have that bond that you guys had. So that definitely helped you out. What was your goals and what were What is it that you want to achieve this year that you were not able to last year?
Well, making it to the States was the first thing because since I did miss the first girls' States, that was kind of a bummer to me. Like, I was obviously since wrestling since 8th grade, and I saw that girls wrestling was getting really big, and then how they added it for the girls. My whole goal for my sophomore year was to get to the States and make it to AC, and then when I couldn't do that, I knew like for my junior year that was the goal. I gotta get to States, like I gotta do it. So that was probably that was what I was wrestling for the whole year.
Yeah. And I know this year you went to about 2 or 3 tournaments, opens this year?
The girls tournaments, yeah.
Yeah. How many? 3, 2?
Two. One counties and then the one in Bloomfield, and then yeah, those two.
Okay, so you won both of those tournaments,
Yes.
and you were this year's Bergen County champion as well,
Yes.
right? So you finish out your season out with your team. You guys wrestle your regional state qualifiers the same weekend as the boys' districts. It was that Sunday, and you wrestled in Union. And the brackets were huge. You might have had about 30-something girls in the bracket. Huge bracket. Big, wide range of girls from all over the place. They basically break it up for the North and the South. You get put in the bracket. I don't think there were seeds really, because I don't think you really got a great seed, right? What seed did you get?
I think I was seated third, maybe.
Was it third? Well, okay, all right. Maybe we were seated better. Okay, so you're seated third or fourth? No, third.
Third, I think. It was either third or fourth. One of those.
Third, yeah. And you know, you wrestle in the region tournament. Oh, you got fourth, they said.
Oh, fourth. I was seated for. Yeah, I got. Yeah,
you were seated fourth. So you're seated fourth, which means that you're in the upper bracket. You would have to wrestle the number 1 seed in the semis, right? Because the girl from Elizabeth was what seed?
No, I think she. I don't even know. I don't.
I feel like you were the 3rd seed, and then you because Miley was the 1st seed, I think. Right?
Yeah, she had come from the lower weight, and she bumped all the way. She was seated like second or in the 114, and then she bumped down to 107, and then. So who was number 1 in the?
I don't know if it was an Elizabeth girl. It might have been. Oh, I mean, they're saying okay, whatever. I mean, say you're the 4th seed. I know you had to wrestle in the semifinals, and you wrestled the girl from Elizabeth, and super tough match, and you know it was back and forth, and you ended up scrambling out of position and getting that pin. I mean, she was tough. I mean, very, very tough. How did you feel after that win?
It was. I think a lot of people were. Well, it was like I was getting in my own head a little bit, so it was good that I had just like pulled through, focused, and just did what I could do. Sometimes I get in my own head and I just gotta, but I know what I'm capable of, so I had to just be mentally strong and just get through it.
So you had to go in the finals and wrestle the girl Miley.
Yeah.
And the year before, she took 2nd in the state. We knew she was tough. I think she's also a grappler, correct? Right? She's also a grappler. She's also a grappler. I mean, when I got to know, I mean, I really got into girl wrestling this year, and what I noticed on a lot of the brackets, there's a lot of girls that are jiu-jitsu, girls that are coming out for wrestling. Is that something that you're seeing too? That a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are seeing that they can get scholarships, and that's like a big deal because you can't get a scholarship for jiu-jitsu, and if you can get something similar, so I think they figure it's worth a shot,
Yeah. So I mean, you going in the finals. You know the girl that you were wrestling in the finals. You know that she took 2nd in the state. What were your thoughts and feeling going into the finals? How did you feel?
I was nervous, just like I was nervous for every other match. But at that point, I was pretty confident with myself because I had already made it to states at that point. I would have placed 1st or 2nd. So I was really happy that I had made it, and I was going to states. Obviously, I was really upset after the loss, but It's all right. I redeemed myself in the States, so it's okay.
That's all, so you take second in the region, you qualify for states. I know everybody's excited for you. We were super excited that you were going to finally get your chance to go down to Atlantic City. I know you saw pictures and maybe videos of what Boardwalk Hall looks like. But to actually see it on a computer screen and see it in real life. And when you first walked into that arena and you saw those 8 mats on that floor, what were your thoughts?
I was kind of like shocked. It doesn't really hit you until you're there. And as soon as, because the way we had walked in was through the back.
The
Yeah.
back.
So first I saw the stage with where you could warm up, and then we had walked through the coaches and the athletes area where you can sit, and I was just it was really cool to see it in person for the first time.
It's kind of very overwhelming. You know?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I mean, listen, what I meant by that was you wrestled. I mean, you've competed in big big tournaments in your career with that big venues and stuff like that. But to be there for the first time in wrestling, in a stage like that, is a little bit out of your element in wrestling world. But I mean, next year you go back, you already know how it felt and stuff like that. So it was kind of like maybe overwhelming in that sense. That's what I'm trying to say. And the thing is, so you get put into a 6-man bracket, right? Or 8-man bracket. Six-man bracket. And so, I mean, we talked about this all year long. And we had a couple people in mind that we were hoping that you would wrestle. And one of the girls was Chloe Ayers, who she won states last year. Her dad's the head coach of Princeton University. She was somebody that we were looking, forward to wrestling, and we knew that we had to, if we wanted to place, we were going to have to wrestle the girl Miley another time. And the girl from Trenton, Drumright, was tough too. She was a very athletic girl, and you went into that tournament. You got a first-round pin, and you got put into the semifinals against somebody that we've been looking forward to for wrestling. What were your thoughts going into that semifinals?
I was excited that I was able to wrestle someone, because my first match, I didn't wrestle her the whole season. And the second match, I didn't wrestle her the whole season. So I was wrestling like higher level girls. So it was definitely exciting, definitely something different. And, of course, like I said, I was always nervous. So I was nervous going into the match, but, I was excited for it. It was finally time to wrestle.
Yeah. I mean, she's a very, in retrospect, she competes at high levels, equivalent to what you do in jiu-jitsu. Wrestling is her sport. She does a freestyle all year long. I think you guys wrestled a superb match against each other. Just like in any other sport, you never want to leave it up to any refs or anything like that. You go out there, you put it out on the mat, and whatever happens goes out there. So we, as your wrestling coach as well, we take no excuses in our matches. And I think that, I can speak for both of us. I know you wish you could have had that match back. And that was a match that was very winnable. I was sitting in the stands. A lot of people were into it. Like, there was girls matches going on. People were kind of into it, but not really like into it. They were kind of staring at the boys, doing their thing and stuff like that. But you got everybody in my area into it because they knew she was the defending state champ. So they were like, who is this girl wrestling right now, And I wanted to turn around and be like, yo, it's my girl, man. I know how good she is. You may not know how good she is, but I know how good she is. So you lose a 4-2 type match. So it puts you in a position now to go for third place. And now you have a rematch with Miley, who you lost to in the region finals.
First, I had to wrestle back.
Oh, yeah.
Then
You wrestled back one match, yes.
Yeah.
You wrestled back one match. And then you had to go and wrestle her for third place. What was your thoughts part 2?
I kind of had a better idea of what to expect. And I knew I just had to go, like, we had worked on a lot of the mistakes that I had made in the match. So I was just going through all of the sessions that we had done. And I was just like going through it in my head, like, okay, I got to do this and this and this. And, it went well. It went in my favor, and I was finishing all my shots, and I was just riding right. I was just doing it exactly how we were practicing it, so
Yeah.
it ended up working out.
Yeah, I mean, we watched film for a while, and we brought film into club, and we said, hey, this girl's beatable. The only thing is you got to be able to finish all your takedowns.
Yeah.
And we worked on a lot of single leg finishes. You got in a bunch of times, and you finished. You even put her to her back. Totally different match. You know, the way I thought you could have done it at the regions,
Yeah.
is the way that you did it then. But at the end of the day, you did it when it count most. And you took third in the state, and you in your first year going down there, so that, which was tremendous. How did you feel? I know you wanted gold, but standing on top of that podium, being up there with all them girls in front of everybody, the whole arena, getting those pictures taken, how did you feel?
It was cool because obviously it's still new, you know, girls wrestling is new. So it was cool because everyone always says that they're like, you're making history, you're making history, you're making history. And standing in third place, I'm definitely making history, but next year it will be first place, I without a doubt.
I love I love the way you're thinking. I know that a couple of those girls come back. I know Chloe does come back as well. Depending on what weight you go next year and what weight she goes next year, there could be a possibility of a rematch. And I know that's something that, you know, you're looking forward to. So I know that there is a possibility that some off-season tournaments where you can maybe run into some of these girls again and wrestle them. You know, so I want to congratulate you again for taking turns. We're super proud of you. I know that next year will be your year. Your thoughts, your final thoughts on the wrestling aspect, your thoughts on everything that happened this year for girls. Like, what are your thoughts about girl wrestling in New Jersey right now?
When I was looking at it last year, looking at the numbers from last year to this year, it's probably doubled, if not, you know, almost tripled from last year, which is really insane to think that all these girls are like coming out of nowhere pretty much and just deciding that they're going to wrestle. Like a lot of these girls, some of them do jiu-jitsu, but some of them don't do jiu-jitsu. So it's really cool to see a lot of them just, you know, coming out and trying something so different. You know, it's not track. You don't just go out there and, you know, run around. It's wrestling. It's not easy. So it is cool to see a lot of girls, and then how the numbers are rising. It's really cool. And especially bringing back up the point about how we were talking about, it was my freshman year was just boys. If I do dual matches and tries and quads and even some of the tournaments with the boys, there's girls on almost every single team. You'll find at least one girl. So it's definitely getting bigger, which is really cool.
Yeah. And my brother just actually took the words out of my mouth, and I was going to say the same thing. He said they're coming out for the sport because of inspiration that you were giving them. I mean, the thing is, you know, you're a trailblazer for the sport of wrestling. You know, you and all the girls that are out wrestling right now, because girls like Alessia, who are in their 7 or 8 years old, you know, by the time they get to high school, or maybe someone who's not even born yet, and people want to look back at the history books, and they'll go back and they'll be like, they'll look at the first people. Like last year could have been your year to be the first time,
right?
But can go back and look back and say, wow, that girl, and you'll be older already, married and whatever, and you'll look back and you'll say, hey, this is the path you know, paved for all the young girls. And I said that to you all year long, that you don't really know what you're doing, but you are an inspiration to a lot of girls, you know, and a lot of girls in the club, everything especially. What would you say to girls who already train BJJ are on the fence about wrestling for their high school? That's a good question.
I know a lot of schools don't have a girls program. Like my school in particular doesn't have a girls program. So it is a little bit harder for them to just decide that they're going to wrestle. But if you feel in your heart and in your mind that you want to wrestle, you should go out there and you should give it a try. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You can
there.
get your arm dislocated.
Yeah. But it's like, it's a good experience. It's something that it's a lot of the times when I start wrestling, a lot of my coaches say that wrestling will change you. And I strongly agree. And I believe that wrestling does change you as a person.
Let's just go to that story real quick. Bella did not have anything to wear to go to Wayne's. She forgot her shorts, so we had to go to a store, go find her some shorts to wear because she didn't have any. So she got her shorts, she weighed in, and that's the story. You know, she next time you got to remember your shorts.
Yes.
Right? What do you do to get stronger for wrestling?
Well, my school, we go to the weight room a couple of days a week, so I take advantage of that. And then I have my own time where I can go and I can go lift and do what I gotta do to get stronger on my own time, because you can't just rely on wrestling practice and, for me, jiu-jitsu practice to get you stronger. You have to go out. You have to go do your own things. You have to do what other people aren't doing. That's the only way that you're going to be better than them.
I mean, guys, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, this girl is, 6, 7 days a week training. This is like her, talk about lifestyle. Your lifestyle is training. That is what you do, and that's why you're a good girl. And that's why you're at a stand of trouble and stuff like that, because you're constantly training for the next big tournament, whether it's jiu-jitsu, now wrestling, and you're helping out with the teaching the jiu-jitsu classes for the little kids. A lot of people look up to you, and when people watch your training, which you should be doing a little bit more videos of you training, people behind the screen are always staring and looking, and you're inspiring a lot of kids. You inspire everybody. It's not just kids, girls, guys, everything. Quick question I have for you guys. If you have any more questions, we only have about 8 minutes left. Quick question that I have for you, real quick, you can answer is there MMA in your future?
I've thought about it, and anything is possible, to be honest with you. I've thought about a lot of crazy things. I was thinking I would go to the Olympics for wrestling, so honestly, anything could be in my future at this point. I do want to try. My one goal in life is I want to be a well-rounded fighter, and if that means going and doing every single part of MMA, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll try every single type of martial art, and obviously MMA, getting in the cage and fighting someone, is a part of it, so potentially it could be.
Yeah, you have all the tools. Obviously you would have to work on your stand-up game, and that's kind of where the grapplers figure out if it is for them or not. I know you're reading dumb questions. I'm reading them too. I'm reading them, but I'm going through a couple of questions. No, Gim 8221. No, it's not. You can ask as many questions as you want. We could be here all day talking about you and your career and things that you're doing and stuff like that. Are there any kind of final thoughts that you want to, talk about? Any shout outs to any coaches or stuff like that?
Probably just you, to be honest with you. Like, for wrestling, you've obviously helped me a lot. I had come off an injury, and I decided to start training with you when the summer started. I was fresh out of the cast, and I was like, no, I'm going to be there. I'm committed. I'll be there once a week until we get a little closer. Then I'm going to start coming more. And it definitely paid off going, because it definitely helped me with my wrestling, and I had gotten, it sharpened me up, and I learned a lot in those months. And because I didn't start with you until October, of my sophomore year, so I only had about a month and a half to get ready for the season. So starting in June definitely helped me for this year, because I was able to learn a lot.
And I appreciate that. I really do, honestly, because that's why I do what I do, and I love working with you. I think that if your peak was up, if your peak is right here, you're not even there yet, and that's what's scary about you. What's scary about you is in the wrestling world and aspect is you're not a full-time wrestler right now. And you're young, and I know how much you love jiu-jitsu. If you put in a quarter of the effort of what all those other girls that are wrestling all year long are doing, you would surpass them. I wouldn't even say catch up to them, surpass those people, and with what you develop with us in our program and stuff like that. And that's just about your work ethic, your commitment, and I think that, you know, you being around wrestling full time, my goal for you, and I told you this from the beginning, was to help you try to find a passion and a love for wrestling. And if you were find a passion and love for wrestling, you know, it would be something that, you know, you would probably do everything you can to be the best, you know. And, you know, even if you never step foot on a college mat ever, and you do get into MMA or you do jiu-jitsu for the rest of your life, you know that wrestling will always be a huge part of your repertoire, you know, all the time.
Absolutely.
My brother, let me see, Coach Dave, one day you'll be interviewing her. Yes, I hope to. I hope so. Hell, if you put in half the work like you do in jiu-jitsu, you would be ridiculously good. Yeah, of course. We know that. Any shout outs out to your jiu-jitsu coaches?
Of course, Notorious MMA is home, always is home. Cordoba trained is probably really close, right there, second home.
I'll take that.
Because if without Notorious, without Cordoba's, I wouldn't be half the person I am today. And that's where I spend my whole life. I eat, sleep, drink. It's everything. Jiu-jitsu and wrestling is my whole life. Without that, like I said, I wouldn't be half the person that I am today.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And so we wish you all the luck in the world. I know we'll be seeing each other as soon as this coronavirus quarantine thing is open. We'll be with each other full time, bring you into freestyle. And we look forward to the rest of your career because you're going to be a superstar and no matter what you do. You know, everyone should look forward to watching her. Make sure you follow. Can you tell your Instagram name?
Bellariva 673.
673. How about a Twitter? Anything on Twitter? No? TikTok?
TikTok, I think it's just Izabella Frezzo.
Awesome,
then,
awesome.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, it's great talking to you.
Thank
Great
you
interview.
so much. Thank
I'm going
you.
to post this to YouTube on David Cordoba. So make sure you guys look out for it. I'll post it on her Facebook as well. Champ, we'll see you soon. And good luck with everything. And stay safe for your family and health.
Thank
okay?
you. You too. You too. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
See you later, guys. Good job.